Good evening, everyone, or good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome here from Adriana and Alexa. Today, we're going to be talking about a very exciting topic. I believe for Alex is very exciting. We're going to be talking about underactive thyroid and nutrition. So welcome, everyone, and welcome, Alexa. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you, Adriana. So I'm Alexa Aboudaram, and my nutrition company is Navigating Nutrients. And I work with women mostly that have thyroid problems. And I work with them in every capacity besides medication. So adding in healthy habits and directing them in nutrition, the nutrition area. And I love doing it.
That's awesome. The last time when we had the conversation and you started talking about underactive thyroid, and I said to you straight away, "Oh my God, it's so out of my sight." Like when I was learning about nutrition, so I really kind of didn't even tune in to kind of learn more about underactive thyroid. But although I did hear my clients talking about it, so it's so perfect that you are here. So if anyone is joining us, just let us know in the comments on the side. Also, just to drop in a comment, let us know if you can hear us okay, or if you are maybe experiencing any challenges with the sound. But I have shared Alexa's links about Instagram, her website, and the Facebook page. Let us know if you can see that. But if you can't, I'm going to resend it again. So, but now I would just like to kind of use this conversation, obviously, to raise awareness, because I believe lots of women are experiencing underactive thyroid, and although they're having issues with it, but they maybe are not aware of it, or maybe they even didn't go to doctors to check it out. So, would you mind to tell us just in kind of in short, okay, so someone, Kavita said, okay, Kavita, thank you so much. She can hear us. Okay. So can you just tell us a little bit about underactive thyroid? What is it and what are the symptoms?
Absolutely. And you are totally correct in saying that women have it and they don't know it. And the reason for that is because, or one of the reasons is because the symptoms are so common, and we've kind of just gotten used to it. So like the most common symptom is fatigue. Like almost every woman feels tired throughout her day just because they have so much going on. Fatigue, brain fog, feeling unmotivated, having dry skin and nails and hair, their digestion not working right, trouble losing weight. I mean, how many women do you know with all of these things? It's so common, but it's not common to get the right physicians and the right labs done to see if this is the cause of the problem. So the percentage is 60% of women that have thyroid disease don't know it. That's a lot.
Wow.
Yes. So that is one of my biggest things, is getting the awareness out there that your symptoms that you're having, which are often just dismissed because they're so common, dismissed by yourself or even your doctor, that they could mean something.
Okay. Well, now when you kind of said all those symptoms, and exactly the same thing what you said, it's who doesn't experience all those symptoms. And when you started kind of talking about it, it's like, oh, okay, now I've heard as well, like people talking about the menopause, like especially when it comes to tiredness, brain fog, struggling to lose weight. So if anyone is out there and, for example, they really want to find out if maybe it can, or I would say if they can kind of rule it out, if that is what's causing them all those symptoms, what is the best way to approach the doctor? And is it kind of any specific blood test that they can get to measure the thyroid hormone?
Yeah, and you're right. Just because you have these symptoms does not mean you have a thyroid problem, right? So they can be stemming from many other problems, but yeah, it's always good to get the test, get a lab test, and see if that's the root cause of your symptoms. So yes, so there are. This is a great topic because there are lab tests that are done by like family practitioners, but they're not comprehensive, and it's not you're not seeing the whole picture. And it's very common to get your thyroid labs back and it be in the normal range, but you're still having thyroid problems. But you would be able to see that you have thyroid problems if you did the correct labs. So the whole comprehensive lab. So that's one of the things I do is I direct people into getting the right labs. One of those is getting the antibody lab, and that is showing whether your body is attacking your thyroid. Because we always want to ask why. So if you have a thyroid problem, why is that happening? Right? You always, if your doctor can't tell you why it's happening, then maybe look for someone else, because you want to always get down to the root cause of your symptoms. And so always ask why. So if you want to see if you have a thyroid problem, get your labs done, but also get the lab that tells you why. So, and that is the antibody test. And that antibody test is telling you, is my body attacking my thyroid? So if you want to know, or if anybody wants to know the correct labs, it's a little confusing to remember and to write down. I'll just say it offhand, but I can also send kind of like a worksheet or just like a cheat sheet of what you would want to get. So you would want to get those antibodies tested, the thyroid antibodies, TSH, T4, which are the normal ones. We also want to do free T4 and free T3, because those are the ones that are active in your body and being able to be used. But don't have to remember that. I will, if anybody wants to know, I will send a cheat sheet out to you.
That's brilliant. Do you know what's actually really funny? Because it was 5 years ago, I was really struggling to lose weight. And let's say I was studying nutrition at that time, and I was a personal trainer. And what I did, I went to doctors just to kind of to check out my thyroid, which I have no idea what test did they take, but then everything came back normal. And I remember I was so devastated because I really needed something to blame or point fingers to have the reason kind of why I couldn't lose weight. Anyway, so it came down to, obviously I was eating too much and having like certain lifestyle at that time. But yeah, I think this is really great because I have also heard someone saying to me that their doctor prescribed them antidepressants because it was one of the symptoms as well, is like depression or feeling sad. Mm. And it is really, sorry, I'm just like, if you heard some noise, but I think this is really interesting for people literally just to go to doctors and to rule it out. But what kind of really now stuck with me, and what I was thinking as well, like all of those symptoms, so they do affect quite a huge area of their life. So I'm just thinking, it's like if they're tired, I think I assume there are lifestyle changes, so they're probably going to be more moody in a sense. Yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, and just to kind of rewind to what a thyroid is. So the basics, it's a butterfly-shaped thing right here in your neck, and it produces hormones that control your metabolism. And every single organ and cell in your body has a receptor to the thyroid hormone. So that's like an outlet and a plug. So your thyroid hormones are the plug, and every cell in your body has a receptor to that. So when your thyroid isn't producing enough hormone, then every single system, every single cell in your body is being affected by that. And that includes your brain, right? So that includes how you're feeling emotionally. But that still blows my mind that everything is being affected when you aren't producing enough. I would like to share a little bit about my story, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is my next question. Yeah. So can you hear me okay? Because I think it's like here from my side is a bit cracking. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Yes. It might be on my side. I don't have as fancy equipment. um, so in my 20s, I was feeling great. I was actually a zookeeper. That was my previous career. I was working with primates at the time, and I was just, my life was great. But I started having these symptoms of fatigue and brain fog and depression symptoms, and which is very common, but it took about 5 years for me to be diagnosed. Usually it's about 8 to 10 years for someone to be diagnosed. So I was diagnosed, I was just given medication and told, this is the only thing we can do for you. You're going to take this medication and you're going to take it for the rest of your life. And you're going to just implement more and more and more. You're going to have to take more and more for the rest of your life. And I was like, well, that's kind of depressing in itself, but okay, there's nothing else I can do. Went to another doctor, same scenario. I moved, I went to another doctor, same scenario. 5 doctors down the line, I happened upon a doctor who just recommended that I change my diet. Before that, people would tell me like, oh, you can eat whatever you want. It's not going to affect you, which is kind of a wild statement in itself. But I happened upon a doctor who suggested to change my diet around. And within 4 weeks, all of my symptoms were gone. I was sleeping just like I was waking up, going to work, coming back home, taking a nap, waking up for dinner, going back to sleep. Like my whole life was just trying to get back on the couch or get into bed. But I wasn't taking naps anymore. My brain fog totally went away. I was like, I was actually clearly thinking again. And it really helped the depression and unmotivation because I could actually hang around friends again with energy. If this is affecting anybody, you know that it's affecting your community aspect of your life and socializing because you just don't feel like doing it when you feel like this. And all of those things went away because I changed my food and was eating real whole foods. I took out the triggers because there's a few foods that can trigger these symptoms, um, and I just lived a more, I guess, holistic lifestyle. I was giving my body what it needed. I was giving it the right foods and the water, and yeah, like not putting fuel on that fire of symptoms when it comes to the trigger foods. And so at that point, I was like, wow, this is awesome. How did that happen? And why did that happen? And decided to figure that out, go to nutrition school. And now I can tell everybody else how to do what I did. Um, most of the time, the reason for low thyroid is something called Hashimoto's. And that is something that affects your immune system. So through what I did and through what I tell other people to do, I was able to get my antibodies to normal, which means that I went into remission from my autoimmune disease, which is you're not supposed to be able to do that. So food and lifestyle can change your life. It can put you into remission. It changed my life. So I'm love telling other people that it can change theirs too and watch it happen.
That is so amazing. So, so when you mentioned like trigger foods, so is it each human being has got like different types of trigger foods, or is it kind of in general you have, let's say, the certain types of food that affects people with thyroid issues kind of in a similar way? Would you mind sharing that, or you want to keep it? You want to keep that kind of as a little secret?
So we're all different, right? We all have different genes. We all had a different childhood. We've all eaten different things, which has made us who we are today. And we've had different kind of movement. We've had different kind of air quality and water quality. We have different amount of hormones in us. So we're all what I say bio-individual. So we are very different. So different things are going to affect us differently, different foods, different situations. When it comes to thyroid, there is a portion, about a fourth a fourth is determined as to what your genes are. You have to have a weak link in your genes. But the other portions of this is your lifestyle. So I don't know if you've heard of epigenetics, which is one of my favorite topics. It's basically a science of how your lifestyle can change your genes, turn them off, turn them on. So that's what happens with thyroid dysfunction. But so different foods can, depending on the person, can cause different reactions. But we know that there's a top three that is the most common. Um, and
Can you hear something?
yes.
Can you just give me 1 second to let the dog in? So sorry.
Very casual
oh my
here.
God. Oh dear. Sorry. So you said three. So you said 3 types of food.
Yeah, there's 3 types that are the most common triggers. The first one is wheat. You can also say gluten. Gluten is a certain kind of protein within wheat. But the first one is wheat. The second one is dairy. And most of the time, that's dairy products that are not really quality dairy products. So commercially raised dairy. And the third one is eggs. But so those are the top 3, and those are the top 3 triggers. You could have a trigger of all of those 3 or just one. So personally, my triggers are gluten and dairy. So I steer clear of those. And that prevents my symptoms from popping up. So if I were to eat a piece of normal bread, piece of wheat bread, then I would immediately feel fatigue, or within the next 24 hours feel fatigue and brain fog and all these things. So when you have a wheat sensitivity or a dairy sensitivity, it's not going to show up as an allergy. So it's not going to show up as like a rash, or it's not going to show up in an allergy test either. So if you've ever done an allergy test with a doctor, or maybe an at-home allergy test, it's not going to show up in that because it's different. This is a sensitivity. And it's affecting your gut. It's causing leaky gut. So basically just like a more permeable small intestine. So foods escape your small intestines and go into your body, and your body flares up because of that. But anyway, so gluten is that sensitivity, and it can show up in more just kind of like all over, not just in your gut. So some people are like, oh, I'm not sensitive to wheat because I don't get a stomach ache after. But you really have to look at all of these things because, again, your thyroid is affecting everything. So you have to think about how am I thinking as clearly? Am I feeling like I have as much energy? Do I feel more tired? All of these things can be symptoms of those trigger foods. So yeah, those 3 top trigger foods. And I recommend for wheat, your body's reaction to wheat can happen 4 to 6 weeks after you have it. So for those who are wondering whether wheat is a trigger for them, you have to completely go off of it for 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, but at least 4 weeks. It has to be a complete elimination of it. Or your body will can remember that you ate gluten for 4 to 6 weeks after. So it has to be a total elimination for those 4 weeks. With dairy, it's a little bit less. I would say about 2 weeks. But if you want to see if if these foods are problematic to you, I would definitely recommend doing a 4-week elimination. And then if you want, you can bring it back in for a day and see what your symptoms are. And I would also recommend tracking this process. It's kind of hard to remember how you felt like even yesterday. So if you felt hungry or tired, so I would definitely recommend keeping a little journal of your food and your mood during that month.
That is like something that I think is really important for every single one of us. Like how, for example, since I like how you just said it with your Instagram. So it's like, oh, Adriana is like a food mindset coach. And for me, for example, like my approach to nutrition is really that starts tuning in how our body responds to food, which is obviously nothing to do with the underactive thyroid, but it's more really understanding what our body doesn't like and really kind of getting more awareness to that. And it's what so I remember like when I was struggling with my health before, because obviously I had like some eating issues, which obviously certain people would like to put it in labels. But anyway, and then I remember when I started kind of trying to eliminate food, I just now want to tell you. So what I want to say is I really struggled to eliminate certain types of food because I've had, let's say, the poor relationship with food. Are you experiencing in your practice or like with your clients that, let's say, that sometimes, what they need to go through to be able to eliminate those symptoms? So let's say someone really struggles to stay off wheat, like for example, they really have a desire and they really need to have bread. What would your advice for them be?
Replace. There's always a replacement to your food, your favorite foods. Now that we're in 2022, I mean, there is gluten-free versions of everything. And for those that are not sensitive to wheat, just because it says gluten-free does not mean it's healthier. It just means it's without wheat. So that doesn't mean it necessarily is healthier, but it's healthier for those who are sensitive to it, right? That's a side note. But yeah, I mean, there's gluten-free donuts, there's gluten-free muffins and bread and cake and, all of the desserts you could possibly ever think of. And there are cooks out there that have recipes and recipes and recipes. I have a few of my favorite websites with great recipes on them. There's just so many options now, and so many more than there used to be because there's so many people that have this problem now. So it's really, I would say, before you make the switch, prepare yourself, right? So go ahead and just start looking at what you're eating every day. Just take a mental note like, oh, this has wheat in it. This has wheat in it. Okay. And then the next time you go shopping, buy replacements for that. It doesn't have to be all in one day. It doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing. It can be a gradual thing that you slowly replace your foods. And then, but that 4 weeks of elimination starts on the day that you've totally found replacements for everything. But yeah, just one step at a time. Every move forward is still a move forward. For sure.
Yeah. So is there anything so let's say any types of food that helps to improve symptoms? So it's like something separate than you said to whole foods. So is there kind of anything specific that you would recommend?
Yes, but I want to actually go back to something you said earlier, and that is that what you do, which is, tell me if I'm wrong, but you are working on people's mindset when it comes to food, right? So how their mind reacts or how their body reacts when they're eating. And that's a huge thing when it comes to thyroid health, because one of the main symptoms is weight gain and having trouble losing weight. And most of the time, I see women that are doing a lot of restricting of foods and a lot of pushing themselves to work out harder and work out longer. So they're restricting their calories and feeling guilty when they're eating anything with carbs in it, all of this kind of stuff. The typical diet, things that are out there, right? So just feeling guilty, not actually enjoying the desserts that you're eating, all of this restricting and just pushing your body. So I see a lot of like that guilt cycle, the yo-yo dieting, that kind of stuff. So really what we do, I think, fits in together more than we realized, because you have to go through this whole mindset change. And that mindset change is, I need to take care of myself. Like, my body needs me to care for it. It needs me to love it. It needs me to love who I am right now, whatever weight I am, however tired I am during the day, however much I can't play with my kids because I'm too fatigued or whatever is happening. Like, to love yourself for who you are in that moment. And that's the first step. The second step is, okay, now I want to care for myself. and do whatever I need to do to nurture myself into health. And that is so different than what so many of us are doing, which is pushing ourselves into health. So, like the restricting and pushing ourselves to work out more. And we're just pushing ourselves to the brink of even having worse health, really, rather than better health. Specifically, when it comes to exercising for people that have thyroid problems, um, weights are better than cardio. So having cardio in your routine is great. So like taking a walk every day, 20, 30-minute walk, light cardio is good, but it's better to go to the gym and do 3 sessions of weight training a week rather than going to the gym and running. It's just better because we have to that's a way to take care of our bodies and nurture our bodies. Um, so yeah, what you're doing with your mindset work is such an important part of what I'm doing also.
Well, the thing is like, so actually, how I kind of changed my direction is that I've realized that it doesn't matter what advice I give to my clients, if like there was simply something in their mind that they couldn't stick to it. And that's why kind of when I started actually educating myself for myself, because I obviously always had issues with food, especially like what you mentioned is that guilt and shame. It doesn't matter how well I ate. If I had maybe like even 10% of my day, if I ate something what what I thought I shouldn't, that there was just that really heavy feeling of that I did, that I messed it all up and that I did it all wrong. So and I just love that you mentioned as well, like exercise, a type of movement that really can help people who are struggling with the thyroid. And what I really can say, the difference that I felt like in my own training, that how much doing more cardio, it's actually really wearing me out. So it's almost like it's actually draining me. And so far as I know, I don't have any thyroid issues. So what, so kind of what it is, and as well, like what you mentioned as well about people are really pushing themselves and trying to stick to certain eating and doing everything. That kind of reminded me more like moms with very young children who are like really struggling to do it everything. So what would be your best advice be, let's say for people who have too much on their plate, what they need to do? So if you're thinking about maybe like the beginning of your journey, what really helped you? Is it like prioritizing? Is it to doing less, kind of more quality? So what really helped you to start making slow, gradual progress towards actually start improving your health?
Yeah. I think that giving yourself permission to put yourself first, to put your health first. I've worked with young mothers who have young kids, and yeah, I mean, there is that feeling of guilt that they can't be there and play with their kids as much as they want to be because of their symptoms. Um, But when you think about it, that's the reason to put yourself first, right? So they're putting their kids first, they're putting their husbands first. But if you really want to be there for your kids, you really want to be there for your family, then you actually do have to put yourself first. You have to put your health first, and you have to make it a priority, um, and work too, obviously. Like I work with women who are putting their work first. And yeah, just kind of sitting down and thinking, let's set some boundaries for myself, and let's decide what needs to happen in order to take care of myself so that I can be there for the people that I love. It's the biggest thing is the mindset change. After that, it's easier to do the things that you know you should be doing anyway, right? There's so many basic things. Staying hydrated, moving, gentle movement every day, um, eating healthy, eating whole foods. Like we know these things are good for us, but so many of us don't do it. Um, and I think it comes from that mindset change, right? So I want to take care of myself so that I can be there for the people I love.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like you say that, and we all know how big issue is that for everyone. It's to put
Mm,
themselves first. And then it's like, oh my God, but how can I do everything and then sort myself somewhere out at the end of the day? But we all kind of realize that that's not how it works.
yeah.
But something you've mentioned at the beginning of your journey when you were kind of sleeping and taking naps. So what my question is, just for that tiredness, let's say so let's say women don't know it yet, or maybe like they just find out and maybe they go on a medication and that they're still overwhelmed with that feeling of tiredness. How much sleep helps with that? Is it like so how can women have, let's say, the regular bedtime routine, having between 7 to 9 hours sleep every single night? Would that improve their symptoms, or
That's a
what would need to
great,
happen?
yeah, that's a fantastic question because um, I was actually just reading about this the other day. You do want to get your 8 hours of sleep. Sleep is, essential to life. So 8 hours to 9 hour, 8 to 10 hours really for people that have thyroid problems. Um, but if you're still if you're still eating things that are triggering you, if you're not getting to the underlying problem, then no amount of sleep is going to help. You can sleep all day, every day. It's still not going to help because you haven't addressed the underlying problems there. And then you asked earlier about if there's any foods that are good for specifically people with thyroid issues or low functioning thyroid. So I would say, just in general, eating those good whole foods. So as close to the earth, as close to the original state of that plant as possible, right? So as least processed as possible, eating whole foods, eating as many colors as you can get. So each meal have a goal of eating 5 different colors, having 5 different colors on your plate. That will help you get a more variety of foods in, and help if you're eating, if those vegetable or those colors are vegetables, then you are taking care of your gut, which is a huge part of this too, which we didn't really talk about. But your microbiome and those bacteria in your gut need to eat healthy food too. So just getting all of those colors in, eating whole foods, eating foods that were raised correctly. So eating protein, eating meat, pasture raised beef, and grass fed. So grass fed beef and pasture raised chicken. So animals that have been that ate what they should have eaten instead of corn. So staying away from commercially raised animals, and just going back to the most natural form of food is, I would say, the most important. And of course, staying hydrated. Drink your water, everybody.
Well, it's a funny thing is like everything like you mentioned now, and I was like, oh my God, do people know all of that? And then what really came back to me is like all those women that I was working over the years. And did you ever have someone who I mean, I guess like when someone pays the coach or nutritionist is a completely different way. They're already ready and they're ready to take action to change. But how did you ever experience, or maybe like people are, that you maybe came across, maybe like your friends or family, that they would rather experience the symptoms than do something about it to change how they feel? Did you ever come across with anyone like that?
Of course. There's so many people that aren't ready to work with me yet that I know, but I know that they will be ready. You just have to hit the point where you go, okay, I'm actually willing to change my habits, right? So I'm actually willing, instead of getting up in the morning and going straight to my coffee pot and drinking 2 cups of coffee, I'm willing to wake up and drink, 30 ounces of water first, which is really hard for some people. So yeah, absolutely. And I would actually love to hear your answer for that question, because I'm sure you've had those situations too.
Oh God. I think I've just seen that. That's why I went into. I mean, like what I just mentioned. It's why I kind of went into more into coaching and understanding why we can't change. And then I started, obviously, like, this is going to be the part of my podcast that it's like, love yourself to change. Because I just realized just exactly what you've said. We're just forcing ourselves, pushing ourselves, to change our habits, to change our health. And we're constantly like just getting burnt out in that desire to change. And we're literally just going back to where we started. And so, but what I've seen is that people would rather deal with symptoms.
Mm.
I've seen that, and it just like literally almost like 90% of people who are surrounding me. Everybody's trying, but everybody is going back to where they started. And, it's kind of, I think it's what it is. I think in health in general, it's people would rather do what they've always done, even if it's not working.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, I think usually the journey, our journeys are many times the same, those of us who have underactive thyroids. And that is, you go to the doctor, you get your medication, you think it's going to take care of things, and then it doesn't. And then you keep having to take more medication and more, and your symptoms keep coming back. So I think that this like cycle can get so overwhelming or just so frustrating that we get to that point where we're like, okay, fine. Is there anything else I can do? Because I'm so tired of taking this medicine that's not working for me.
well, that is now we know who can reach out to. So, Alexa, tell us. I did share obviously the link, but if anyone who is joining us right now, if you've got any questions, make sure you drop them in the chat. But Alexa, where people can find you, how they can reach out to you.
Yeah, go to my website, which is navigatingnutrients.com. And when you go there, a quiz will pop up and you will get to take a quiz and see how likely you are to have a thyroid problem. And if you have a high percentage of those symptoms, then we can always get in touch and I can point you to getting the right labs done. Even if you've had your labs done before, it's always good to make sure that they were the right ones because, like I said before, many times the correct labs are not even done. So anyway, go to my website, take the quiz. And then, of course, you can find me on the most common socials, Facebook and Instagram at Navigating Nutrients.
Okay, I'm just like trying to put here. I don't know if you can see it. I try to have like all the links, but so these I've got the Facebook. Can you see the link?
Yeah.
I'm trying literally to flash into people's face, and I was like, "This is where you can contact Alexa." Okay, well that was so brilliant, Alexa. Thank you so much. So if anyone is really struggling with underactive thyroid, if you've got any questions regarding a specific nutrition and also the checklist or cheat sheet that you mentioned that people need to know about when they're going to doctors to actually require their blood tests to discover actually if they've got issues with the thyroid. So please reach out to sorry, you want to say something?
I was just going to say, as a side note, I have partnered with a company that does at-home testing. So if you don't feel like going to the doctor, it's just a finger prick. You barely even feel it. You put a few drops of blood on a piece of paper, send it in, and they send you your lab test to your home and the results to your email. So it's super easy to get your thyroid tested these days.
Okay, Alexa, thank you so much for joining us. If you don't mind, you can come back into the future to tell us more details about underactive thyroid and to talk more about nutrition, because I always like to hear just a different perspective on nutrition, because I kind of went into such a different direction. So it would be great to have you back again sometime soon.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, it has.
Thank you very much for tuning in. So if you've got any questions, make sure you pop in the comments below. And for now, Alexa and I are wishing you a great weekend and speak to you all really soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.